Call the meeting to order.
Botts,
Yes.
Nichols, Miller,
Yes.
Lunt,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
First item we have on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for August 26, 2013, regular session. And I move approval of those minutes.
Second.
Lunt,
Yes.
Botts,
Abstain as I was absent.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Next, we have a public hearing on the 2013-2014 operating and capital budget. I move that we open the public hearing.
Second.
Lash,
Yes.
Botts,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I'm pleased this evening to present the City of Mexico's fiscal year budget for 2013-14. Our fiscal year begins on October 1, 2013, and ends on September 30th, 2014. The purpose of the annual budget and program of services document is to present to the public a comprehensive picture of our operations. The annual budget is a policy document that maps the financial course and defines the service priorities provided to the community. This budget has been built on a conservative financial principles. This budget meets all the state statute of being balanced. Staff continuously monitors expenses and revenues to ensure that the city remains fiscally stable. As a government entity, we do follow the principle of fund accounting, which fund accounting is a system that we emphasize accountability rather than profitability. While this budget is lean, I still believe it enables the city to make strategic investments in areas that will help our community move forward. This budget has total revenues estimated at $12,800,000, expenditures $13,729,000. That indicates that expenditures exceed revenues by $927,000. That will be funded by bond proceeds, project reserves, and undesignated fund balances. The major reasons or the variances for this is wastewater improvement projects, capital improvements, and one-time capital outlay expenditures. So in all these cases, we have planned for these expenditures. As far as some of the overall budget issues, we continue to experience rate increases above the rate of inflation on utilities, street lighting, and insurances, just like I'm sure most people do at home. Of course, our reoccurring expenditures, such as replacement for capital, continues to increase. Our property taxes, however, remain stable. Our sales tax receipts are comparable to last year and are up compared to the 5-year average. Our hotel motel tax receipts are up compared to last year as well. As I said, this budget is balanced. No new full-time positions have been added, and capital purchases are only being made to replace worn-out equipment, and cash balances will be maintained in all operating funds in order to meet our reserve policies. The county assesses property at a percent of market value. That means commercial property is assessed at 32% of value, personal property at 33.3%, residential property at 19%, and agricultural property at 12%. Generally, what does that mean is if you have a property that's valued at $100,000, and if you are set as commercial, you're only paying taxes on 32% or $32,000. Same way if it's a residential, it's your house, you're only paying it on $19,000 or 19% of that. Property tax rates are levied on a per $100 of assessed property value. The city's total assessed property values last year was $138,556,000. And this year, 2013, that we're basing this year's budget on, we did have an increase. The new property value is $140,762,000. That's an increase of roughly $2.2 million. The increases were in real estate valuation of roughly $300,000 and personal property of $1.9 million. So our major growth is really coming in personal property at this time. So that's people's toys that they buy. The property tax rates established for this budget, for the general fund, it is 41.8 cents per hundred. Parks and Recreation, 10 cents per hundred. Public Health, Animal Control, 20 cents. And you can respectfully see each of the revenues that will generate. That's a little over $1 million in property tax revenues. Sales tax for this year is, as I said earlier, is consistent and stable. And as far as the trend goes as well for gross receipts, it is remaining stable, but we are seeing a little bit of an increase, and we believe that's pretty much all related to utility rate increases as well. There we go. Okay. Insurance rates for the year, property and liability insurance is budget estimate of 14% up. Health insurance, 14% up. We are still participating in the Coventry high deductible plan, so that increase will be split between city and employees. And dental insurance is estimated to be up 8%. We have estimated all these based on industry average at this point, of what we're looking at. And of course, we'll negotiate that rate and hope for a better rate, which we were able to obtain this last year, and we didn't see those kinds of increases. As far as personnel goes, there's no increase in number in full-time employees. And as you can see from the previous years, we're remaining pretty stable. In 2012, we did take a dip because that was 13 employees that was relocated to the Joint Communication Center. So historically, without those employees, we've been right around that 90 mark, so we're maintaining that a little below that. We have estimated in this budget a 2% cost of living increase to the wage schedule, but any individual employee's wage increase is contingent upon receiving based on their annual valuation. Outside agencies that we fund. These are the ones we've listed as the charitable agencies, which we provide funds for their purposes. The Mexico Senior Center requested $11,000. We budgeted $11,000. Audrain County Historical Society, $4,900. We budgeted $49,000. The Miss Missouri Scholarship Pageant requested $10,000. We budgeted $10,000. The Help Center asked for $12,500. We budgeted $10,000. And the Optimus Youth Sports Program, $2,700, and we budgeted $2,700. Each of the budgeted requests is exactly what it was last year and the same amounts as it was in the previous years. So we did not give any increases. The other outside agencies, these are our contract agencies. The Handy Shop, which does the recycling program, requested $18,000 to run the program. We budgeted the $18,000. Under the Mexico Chamber of Commerce for marketing, they asked for $13,000 and we budgeted $13,000. Presser Hall for performance dates, $10,000, budgeted $10,000. And again, these are the same amounts that they've been in the last few years. The other things that help fund our budget is grants that we receive. We have 4 grants that are carrying over into this year. And the one is for the Plant Science Center Road 820 for the construction of the additional Phase 2. And then also the engineering for that. And then we have a MoDOT grant for the Morris Street improvements of $109,000. And then we also have a DOT grant for runway improvements out at the airport for $218,000. So these are funds that are coming in outside of what we raise locally. As we go into individual funds, we'll go into the general fund first. The general fund, of course, is the chief operating fund of the city, and this is where you'll find most services. Revenues for the year, $5,463,000. Expenditures, $5,716,000. Expenditures are greater by $253,000, but we have $550,000 in here from what we call qualifying capital expenditures. What does that mean? We have $50,000 for a land purchase, and we have $500,000 in here for a fire truck. Now, I do want to qualify the fire truck one in that we have budgeted this time to pay half of it, or $250,000 of it cash, and $250,000 will be on a capital lease. Now, that will be dependent upon the time that we buy it based on our cash position. We may end up putting more cash in it at that time, but that's what we have budgeted at present. Even with all those expenditures, we're still having an ending fund balance of 46%. So even having the planned expenditures, we still are ending very well. Some of the major programs, projects, significant things that are in this budget in the general fund. Under public safety, we have radar guns, Celebrite software system. You may ask what that is. That basically allows you to take a cell phone and download it and get the information off of it as far as calls and where they've been. And so if there's a case involving cell phone, which almost everybody carries them now, we'll now be able to track what you've done, who you've called, and where you've been, well, if we have to. Camera and furniture for the department, a patrol vehicle, portable breath testers, and then we have the fire truck listed. Under Public Works, we have a new dump truck for $62,000, snowplow $4,500, truck bed spreader $8,000, portable brine tank $3,500. Over in Community Development, we have the sidewalk program for $7,500. In the cemetery, a 1-ton truck, $36,500. Building and Grounds, in-code software, $15,000. Maintenance shop for an exhaust system, $7,000. Maintenance shop for replacement of a furnace, $3,500. The land purchase we talked about earlier, $50,000. And then under the city manager's budget, we have a website redesign, which will be redesigning the city's website. We also have transfers out of the general fund, $105,000 going to Parks and Rec, and $30,000 going to the airport. Under the wastewater fund, revenues are $2,824,000, expenditures $2,301,000. We also have transfers of $784,000. So that actual raises our total expenditures to $3,086,000. So that's reducing our cash position in the wastewater fund by $261,000. The main reason for this reduction is for planned capital projects, which is predominantly related to slip lining of the system. And that is a project we've carried over from this year till next year. And so we've built a little bit of cash this year and paying for it next year is where this is coming from. We still have an ending fund cash balance in this fund of 62%, but I want to qualify that by saying this does include the accrual of the funds for the bond payments that are coming up. And as you can see, when we transferred that $784,000, that's the bond payment. So there's a significant amount of cash sitting in there to make those bond payments, which we have to do by bond ordinances. We are also looking that this budget reflects a 10% increase in the wastewater rates effective with the October billing. This is in order to meet the operating expenses, the capital improvements, and the debt service obligations. This is the same amount that was estimated in the wastewater study that we've done, and this is the last year for the double-digit rate increases. From this point forward, we believe we'll be back down to the normal rate increases after supporting all the capital projects that we've had in the wastewater fund in the last 3 years. Some of the significant projects in the wastewater fund as we move forward this year. We have a GIS data layer, $6,500, a trash pump, $18,350, a generator for $35,000, collection system repairs, $60,000, building furnace, $12,000, lift station pump, $25,000, lift station drives and alarms, $37,500, some engineering work for design, maps and surveys, $10,000, video recording equipment, $12,887, the system slip lining, this is repairs in the system, slip lining old pipes, $300,000, and a sludge hauling tank, $164,450. So as you can see, we have some major capital projects this next year in repairing the system. The sanitation fund, revenues $568,000, expenditures $557,000. We also have a project reserve of $15,000 set aside. The intended purpose of putting the funds away is for eventually a new street sweeper. We'll still have an ending fund cash balance of 41%, and that we'll point out that the yard waste operations contract, which is for the brush grinding chip services with Brake Brothers currently, that contract is set to expire in April of 2014, so we will be rebidding that right after the first of the year. In the Economic Development Fund, revenues $191,000, expenditures $184,000. The single largest expense in this fund is the debt payment on the city-owned spec building, which is currently leased to Home Depot. The second largest expenses supports job creation, industrial recruitment, economic development planning. We are having an ending fund balance of 75%. We do, by policy, have a 50% requirement in this fund because we set aside the next year's payment for that building, which is roughly $100,000 a year. So we want to make sure that's set aside each year as we move into the new year. The Parks and Recreation Fund. Revenues, $1,087,000. Expenditures, $1,126,000. Our sales tax revenue coming in for this will be the first full year of it, $768,000. We do have some transfers coming in from the general fund, as we said earlier, $105,000. We're still going to have an ending balance in this area of 9%. We do have a number of projects that we'll be working on this next year. We'll cover those here briefly. Things being bought out of this fund: a 45 horsepower tractor with cab and loader, $38,000. Wide area mower, sod cutter, $4,400. Dingo snow blower, $9,200. Engineering design services, $20,000. Fairgrounds Park restroom renovation, $80,000. Tennis court lights, $15,500. Skate park equipment, $5,000. Mex TV video playback server, $13,000. Public health, animal control. This is the cost for running the animal shelter, nuisance abatements, dangerous building demolitions, pest control are all paid out of here. Revenues for the fiscal year, $336,000. Expenditures, $374,000. We have planned in this budget and put cash back for, which was for a new animal control vehicle and some acoustic improvements at the animal shelter, which were all planned expenditures, and we'll still end with a ending fund balance of 43%. Airport fund. Revenues $283,000, expenditures $310,000. Single biggest reason is runway improvements. We do have a DOT grant of $218,000. We are bringing in a general fund transfer as the local contribution to that. Capital improvement sales tax fund transfer of $10,000 for some apron improvements, and we're still ending the fund with a 23% balance after all those improvements. In the capital improvement sales tax fund, this is where we receive sales tax in order to do basically pavement repairs, curb replacement, asphalt overlays, drainage projects, capital improvements in general. Some of the projects that we have planned this year here are curb and gutter repairs, $19,000. Huntingfield Bridge replacement, $110,000. Asphalt overlays, $250,000. Drainage project on Kent and Ringo, $35,000. Stormwater improvements, $70,000. YMCA drainage projects, this is year 3 of a 5-year commitment of $8,000. Downtown streetlights, $30,000. Then we have project reserves of $20,000. We also have transfers out of the fund for the general fund, $300,000 to support maintenance projects, airport fund for the apron improvements we talked about, and then we have $25,000 going as local match on the MoDOT grant for the Moore Street project. At this point, I would certainly like to acknowledge that the preparation of this document was a team effort, cooperation by the entire city staff. We think the goals and objectives of the city council have been met, and also to maintain the services that we provide to the citizens. Certainly want to acknowledge Roger and his staff and the Administrative Services Finance Department for their work on this, and all the department directors for their assistance and working through the issues we have at each department level. And at that point, Your Honor, I will attempt to answer any questions you have. I'll take the easy ones, Roger gets the hard ones.
Okay. Council, any questions? I have one. Maybe we covered this in our budget session. There's $35,000 in for a generator at the wastewater fund. Is that required to run the system if the electricity goes down? Is that what that's for? Or?
That will not run the wastewater plant in total, but it would let us run the influent pumps into the plant, or to take out to one of the lift stations if we have lift station failure, and be able to operate pumps there.
Okay. Other questions? Questions from the public? Seeing or hearing none, I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
Smash.
Yes.
Bott.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Next, under new business resolutions, we have Bill Number 2013-61, a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign contract documents with SAK Construction LLC for sewer pipe lining service. This is up for reading and passage. Bruce?
Yes, Your Honor, as part of the, I guess what I call part of the Phase 3 improvements to the wastewater system, which is repairing things within the collection system. We took bids on this, and to cover the bids in the detail, I will turn to Ken Russell.
This is expenditure of funds for lining collection system pipes. A month or so ago, we showed you a map showing locations that we were going to be doing. A line that comes off of Branchwood and goes over to Huntingfield, a line that comes off South of Calhoun and goes back towards Huntingfield, line along the creek back behind the Mosers development, and some lines in Monroe Street from Muldrow extending west up Monroe Street are the major areas that are included in this. We did advertise and take bids. We had 4 bidders on it. The bid tabulation is attached there with the letter. SAK was the low bidder. They have the experience and qualifications for the project. They've been in business almost as long as In Situ Form, who was also a bidder. In Situ Form is probably the recognized leader in developing the technology for cured in place pipelining. But last project we had, Inliner was the low bidder, so we are seeing competitive bids among the companies that do this kind of work. Their bid was $211,738.95. That will line a little over 4,800 feet of pipe. This is primarily 8-inch and 10-inch pipe, and as part of the work, we are also actually extending the liner about 18 inches up into some taps, residential taps, to seal those connections to our line. And there are about 17 of those taps that will be sealed as well. We are not doing any manhole lining with this contract. We were concentrating on the pipe. We will take a look at the funds for the collection system next year, and we'll look and see if we can get some of our manholes taken care of in the next contract that we do. But we would recommend that you approve this contract with SAK.
And where are they from?
They operate out of the St. Louis area.
St. Louis.
Actually, O'Fallon, I believe.
they've done work here before, or?
They have not been in town here before, to my knowledge. Now, a number of years ago, there was some pipelining work done here in town. I'm not aware of which contractor did that, but we've had Inliner and Spraycom both do work here since I've been here. They were both bidders. Again, SAK has a long list of projects and qualifications, been in business for quite some time.
Okay, so you feel comfortable?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I move for reading of bill number 2013-61.
Second.
Flash,
Yes.
Bott,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Bill number 2013-61, a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign contract documents with SAK Construction LLC for sewer pipelining services, whereas bids made pursuant to the invitation to bid for the sewer pipelining services were opened on August 29, 2013, and whereas it was determined that the bid of SAK Construction LLC was an acceptable bid. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Mexico, Missouri as follows. Section 1, the City of Mexico, Missouri accept the total base bid of $211,738.95 from SAK Construction LLC for sewer pipe lining services. Section 2, the city manager is hereby authorized to execute on behalf of the City of Mexico contract documents with SAK Construction LLC, 864 Hoff Road, O'Fallon, Missouri 63366. Section 3, this resolution shall be in full force and effect from and after the time of its passage. I move for passage of bill number 2013-61.
Second.
Flash,
Yes.
Bott,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Under new business ordinances this evening, we have two, the first being bill number 2013-62, an ordinance approving the 2013-2014 operating and capital budget. And this is up for first reading by title only. And I think we've just covered that.
We just covered it, unless you have any
Oh,
questions.
can we just go through the slides again? I mean, they were so enjoyable.
I can pull it back up.
I move for reading bill number 2013-62 by title only.
Second.
Flash,
Yes.
Bott,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes. Bill number 2013-62, an ordinance revising the budget for the City of Mexico, Missouri for the fiscal year October 1, 2012 to September 30, 2013 inclusive, and adopting the budget for the fiscal year October 1, 2013 to September 30, 2014 inclusive, appropriating the funds as allocated to various accounts, and authorizing the expenditure of such funds by the city manager and other officials for the purposes indicated.
Okay. The next new business ordinance we have is bill number 2013-63, an ordinance for the purpose of providing for the annexation of territory to the existing corporate boundaries of the City of Mexico, Missouri. This is up for two readings by title only and passage. Bruce?
Yes, Your Honor. We held the public hearing on this, and to cover the additional details, I'll turn to Rita Jackson. And again, we held the public hearing 4 weeks ago.
The City of Mexico has received petitions from GLH Holdings LLC with George Hoffman and Linda Hoffman as owners in Adrian County, and David Wayne Robertson and Virginia A. Robertson to annex their properties located east of Highway 54 South and south of Kelly Parkway into the city limits. GLH Holdings LLC and Adrian County property is located at 3100 South Clark. This will be the new home of Pearl Motor Company, which is currently under construction and is scheduled for completion by the end of the year. The Robinson's 0.17 acre parcel is located to the south of 3076 South Clark, which is DQ Grill and Chill, a 50-foot tract south of their drive-through window. This annexation is reasonable and necessary for the proper development of the city. The City of Mexico has the ability to furnish normal municipal services to the area. The public hearing was held on August 12, 2013, and during the 14-day waiting period, staff have received no objections. Attached is an ordinance allowing for the annexation, and staff recommends that council proceed with 2 readings by title only and passage of the attached ordinance. The ordinance has been posted the required length of time.
Any comments?
I do have a question, though. I noticed the driveway on George's here, so is that like going to be a road back through there off of 54? Because it just like dead ends and then your stuff's over.
Eventually it is.
Is that what that is?
And that's what,
I was just curious because I was just kind of,
no, eventually the hope is to wrap a road around both sides of the property and develop the property in the back.
There are no questions, Your Honor. I would move for first reading of Bill number 2013-63 by title only.
second.
Lesh,
Yes.
Bott,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes. Bill number 2013-63, an ordinance for the purpose of providing for the annexation of territory to the existing corporate boundaries of the city of Mexico, Missouri. I would move for second reading by title only.
Second.
Lesh,
Yes.
Bott,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes. Bill number 2013-63, an ordinance for the purpose of providing for the annexation of territory to the existing corporate boundaries of the city of Mexico, Missouri. Your Honor, I move for passage of Bill number 2013-63.
Second.
Lesh,
Yes.
Bott,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Okay, under old business ordinances, we have Bill number 2013-58, an ordinance amending the code of the City of Mexico, Missouri, Chapter 7, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Article 10, Schedules. And this is up for second reading by title only and passage. Bruce?
Yes, Your Honor. The first reading was given to this ordinance at the August 26th meeting. This establishes a no parking at any time on the north side of Pollock Road from Grand to the Missouri Military Academy ball fields. At the first reading, council, you had asked that we confirm with the Military Academy on their opinion. They are in full support of this, and we did indicate that to you in an email. But at this time, we recommend that you proceed with the second reading and passage of the ordinance.
Appreciate the contact with MMA. I think that was important. So. I move for second reading of Bill number 2013-58 by title only.
Second.
Lesh,
Yes.
Bott,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Bill number 2013-58, an ordinance amending the code of the City of Mexico, Missouri, Chapter 7, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Article 10, Schedules. I move for passage of Bill number 2013-58.
Second.
Lesh,
Yes.
Bott,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Okay, under other business this evening, we have a staff report, Parks Maintenance Department purchase and installation of replacement tennis court lights at the Fairgrounds tennis courts. And Bruce?
Yes, Your Honor. To cover the details of the project and the bids received, I will turn to Chad Schuler.
Thank you. As the council's aware, our annual budget allows $15,500 for the purchase and installation of replacement tennis court lights at Fairgrounds tennis courts. The sealed bid proposal requests were sent out to 38 vendors, and advertisements were placed in the Mexico Ledger. And the first time we sent this out, we got no bids back. So we adjusted the budget on it a little bit and talked to several vendors to find out why we didn't get any bids back. Apparently, it was kind of several things coming together. The candle power or foot candle request that we had put on the original bid was difficult to meet for the price that we had. So we adjusted the foot candle requirement a little bit. And apparently, the week that that was due, there was about 4 or 5 really large projects bidding in mid-Missouri that all the electricians were bidding on, so we kind of fell to the wayside on that. So that has pushed us to where we have to carry this over into the next budget year by the time we get it done, just so you're aware of that. Meyer Electric Company out of Jefferson City, Missouri, gave us what we thought was the best bid proposal at $12,800. And we recommend that we award the bid for purchase and installation of replacement tennis court lights to Meyer Electric Company of Jeff City for the bid price of $12,800, subject to their ability to install the lighting in an acceptable length of time. And they have told us that they should be able to have this done in probably 3 to 5 weeks, about 2 weeks for fixtures to get here, and then they intend to start immediately.
What kind of, reading the bids and talking to some people, what kind of candle are they looking at? Because from reading the other people and talking to some guys from Butler and all, they're like, there's no way they're installing just 14 and getting 30.
Well, they're actually installing a different brand of lights than Butler carries. They were the only bidder that's installing they've got 3 different shapes of spun parabolic lenses behind the lights, whereas the Butler bids that everybody was putting in are only round parabolics. So basically what they're doing is they're using the light that they're getting a lot more efficiently, if that.
So they're going to meet the 30.
They're going to come in about 28.6. So, you know, and when you look at the lighting diagrams, their lighting diagram was the only one that actually has the diagram laid over the court dimension to where we can actually see how much of that light on the other kind of light we're going to lose out. It's kind of hard to see on that diagram, and it's hard to call, Chris. I mean, frankly, you know, I spent a lot of time going through these diagrams, and you know, in my opinion, that's probably the best cost. The ones that are going to 24 fixtures, they're going to get more candle powers, but they're doing it over a lot more fixtures, and we're going to spend a lot more electric running a lot more fixtures. A 1,000-watt light is a 1,000-watt light. So if you're using 42% more fixtures, you're going to use 42% more electric, essentially, if all else is equal. So that played into the thoughts also that our ongoing cost is going to be less expensive with the smaller number of lights. So,
Good answer.
I was curious about that myself.
well, and
Yeah,
you come
because-
from the field, so does that make sense to you?
Yeah,
You know?
I think so.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
I'm still bothered by this a little bit, Mayor.
Okay, we got the guy here that can answer it.
Yeah, we're taking the bid for 14 lights.
Yes, sir.
The next is 16 and then 2 at 24.
Yes.
And you said that at 14, we're going to get just a little bit less than what we expect.
Just a little bit less. But the distribution of light is a little more even than it. When you look at your lighting diagrams on the back, you have got some higher spiked lighting areas in the 24 light
Hey,
bands.
Chad, we don't have any of
Oh,
that.
you don't have that? Okay.
Yeah.
I can go down and bring that up for you if you'd like to see the actual light spec diagrams. But one of the problems with the 24 bay light diagrams is that there are some spikes of light. There's some real bright spots here and some real bright spots here. And so although their average comes out higher, the general distribution of light is not as even.
Okay, that explains the 24.
Yes.
What about the 16?
The 16 was not as good as the 24s or the 14.
Because,
Because with the round reflectors that they're using in those lights, with the 16, they're not getting enough light on site. The guys that are doing the 24 lights were doing it by overloading some spots with light and then letting that light pool to other areas. Is that, so in other words, they've got 2 lights reflecting on an area to fill up this spot here with light, whereas the guys that are using 14, they're filling up this area with light, and then they've got, like an oblong reflector to fill this area with light, instead of just overloading it and letting it spill into that area. So you might have some spots with 65 candle power here, and some spots with 24 here, and it's going to average out higher than one that has 36, 32, 28, 28, 28. Does that?
Is there some kind of a standard for this somewhere? Either in the
Yes.
building codes or the...
Yes, there's sport lighting
USTA
standards,
or something?
and that's what, that first set that we sent out that had the higher candle power, that's what the holdup was. You know, we went out with the candle power recommendation from the United States Tennis Association on how many candle power we should have to have competitive lighting, competitive tennis going on here, which the high school uses it for.
Mhm.
We couldn't afford to do that, is essentially what came back. The other problem we have here, if we go to 24 lights, we don't have any indication from those people that the circuits that we have here can carry the additional wattage flow to those extra fixtures. Because right now we have 14 fixtures of 1,000 watts. And Meyer Electric is replacing that with 14 fixtures of 1,000 watts. If we go to the 24, there's going to be a lot more draw on those circuits, and we don't have any indication that they're planning on doing any additional circuit work in there so that those circuits can carry that load. So I've got a concern there also. Is that
Okay.
fair enough?
No.
So to me, it looked like that was the potential for an overrun in the project if we went with that, and then they came back and said, oh, we've got to have more power, we can't power the lights.
What is the standard tennis court?
For competition, they'd like us to be at about 50. Frankly, the problem is our poles aren't tall enough. We don't have nearly enough amperage to power the kind of lights that it takes to meet the modern standard. But our poles were 1974 poles. They, the standards were different in 1974, frankly. They weren't as high. So, we're trying to do the best we can and keep the dollar as friendly as we can, and still get the tennis people what they've asked for.
Have you talked to any of them?
Yes.
Are they?
Yeah. Actually, there were about 25 of the park board today, so we discussed this. So.
I have no further questions.
Okay, I move we accept the Meyer Electric Company Incorporated bid of $12,800.
Second.
Yes.
Bud,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Next on the agenda are the claims.
Move to pay the claims.
We had a motion and a second, didn't we?
I made the motion. I guess.
Okay, second.
One way or another.
Okay, second.
Lesh,
Yes.
Bud,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Next, we have council comments. Councilman Botts.
I don't believe I have anything this evening.
I'd like to say good job to Roger and his staff, well, to the whole staff. I know this takes a lot of work to make this kind of budget, so I appreciate all the work there. We had a good meeting with the Christmas decorating committee for downtown lighting. I'd say there was probably 15 people there or more on the committee from all walks of life, which is really good to see because, usually you go to these committees, it's like a little group that kind of hang together, but there was people from everywhere, so that was kind of interesting. And since George is here, I want to apologize for what happened a few weeks ago because it wasn't meant to be personal to you. And it came across that way, and so I do apologize. It was just a question of policy. It wasn't about you. You were just doing what any businessman in this community would have done. So I'm sorry you took it that way, and I'm sorry it came across that way. So that's all I have.
Councilman Miller.
I think that staff's done it again with the budget. It's a good budget, and I commend the staff, Bruce and the department heads, and especially Roger, Administrative Services. Thank you.
I don't have anything this evening.
Okay. I ditto the council comments about the budget. I know it's an important item that we do every year, and we got to have a plan, and we got to have goals, and those are plans and goals are all incorporated into that budget, so that's critical to us. I have had some comments about rummage sales and these advertisements that people are putting up on the street. what is the rules about that, or are there rules? I mean, people are, got to put out a cardboard box, and they set it on a corner, and they point something that way and say rummage sale here, but the rummage sale doesn't seem to go away, the box stays, so.
Yeah.
So I guess, what do we do about that, or what's happening?
Did you have anything you want to comment
They're
on?
actually not supposed to be out there in the parkway, and they should pick them up, and they're not doing that, so I think it's something that our department needs to look at and make sure they get picked up.
Yeah.
Contact people.
Are they, they're not supposed to be in the right-of-way at all, is that correct?
They're not supposed to be
So that means they have to be at least 10 feet.
open to the property, and they're not supposed to be there over certain length of time, but off the top of my head, I'm sorry, I cannot, I think it's not more than 24 hours, and pick it up immediately after the sale.
Mhm.
And we had actually rewrote a policy on that.
They're not to be on utility poles or street signs, anything like that, unless you have authorization to do it.
Okay. Well, apparently, there's been some violations of that, because some people have been talking about it, so,
We'll look into it.
thank you. I think that's all I have. Any comments from the public? I don't see any, so I move we adjourn.
Second.
Glenn?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.